Hey, everybody, welcome back to For the Long Haul podcast. Like always, it's me, Brandon, alongside.
Blaine.
All right, so Blaine. Okay, so I don't know if you saw this going on the internet, but apparently America has a national cricket team.
I did not know that.
Apparently, the World Cricket Cup is going on right now.
Okay.
Our cricket federation is underfunded, so a lot of them, or all of them, have 4 times jobs, and are
Oh,
and are right now using PTO and stuff to compete in the the World Cricket Cup for
okay.
America. Apparently, we were the underdogs and all that. Apparently, I guess we had a miracle on ice moment, or
Mhm.
like we were the Tom Brady era Browns, and we were going up against Tom Brady Patriots era Patriots.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Because everybody was talking about how we beat Pakistan's cricket team, and there was like a big upset.
Well, damn. Hell yeah, dude.
And
I
I'm
know
like,
nothing about this the cricket team.
I don't think most people knew America had a cricket team until this month. Whenever like news broke out about us defeating Pakistan, especially a country that doesn't play cricket that much, or it's like severely like bottom of the list of people that play and watch it. Because you got to remember, it's mostly the UK that plays it, Australia, parts of Asia, India, and Pakistan.
Well, yeah, and it's not like I don't know about more up north or anything, but here in the south, like what the hell is cricket? You know what I mean?
Honestly,
Like,
okay, so I know cricket as a thing is technically the second most watched sport in the world.
okay.
Which
I've
like
seen it before. It looks cool.
eh,
And but I never really watched it or anything.
the way I think it works, it's kind of like a variation of baseball. I think I'm not sure if anybody
Yeah.
actually knows cricket. Let us know. But I think it's a variation of baseball, or baseball's a variation of cricket.
It's like baseball and like football kind of together almost with how you sling it around and then you can hit people and stuff too,
Yeah,
right?
I think so. I have no idea about
I think
cricket.
it sounds like a cool sport, honestly.
Like, but
It's got contact and stuff.
oh, also apparently it's being hosted in the States. We have 3 stadiums that are playing it for the World Cup for
Uh-huh.
cricket. And also the West Indies, which I'm not sure if the West Indies. Okay, I haven't heard the term West Indies since talking about or learning about the 1800s. But
Okay.
I don't know if it's one of the same, or if it's like or if it's kind of like a England, UK, Great Britain scenario. But
Mhm.
it's either the Caribbean or the Caribbean plus extra stuff is what the
Okay.
West Indies is at.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know anything. I don't remember. History been a while.
Yeah, but I just thought that was crazy because we apparently beat the underdogs, and apparently we're right now second in our group to advance to the what they call the Super Eight.
Okay. And then that's like where the finals happen and stuff, semifinals and
Yeah, I'm guessing it's the semifinals because yes, I guess it'll be quarterfinals and no semifinals and quarterfinals. I'm assuming.
okay.
I have no
Yeah.
clue how the oh no, it's gonna be I don't know how the matchup works
Oh well.
for
I
the
mean,
Cricket World Cup.
obviously we don't know about cricket that much.
Yeah,
You're
but
just kind of
apparently,
bringing
like
up this
everybody was
little
like,
bit.
it was like a big surprise to the cricket community and all that we beat it. And I was like, what the? We got a cricket team, a national cricket team, and we are the under. I mean, that's right, so we're the underdogs, but
Yeah.
we're beating them, and we're doing apparently really good. Hey, go
Heck yeah,
America!
dude. That's freaking sick. Yeah, I know nothing about it. I haven't seen any news things on it. I guess that's not in my sphere of interest given to Google because I don't get anything on it. Now that we've mentioned the words, it may show up.
Yeah, and I just did a quick Google search because apparently we gotta to like understand this just a little bit. This World Cup, we
Mhm.
got a stadium in Grand Prairie, which
Oh,
I guess the U.S. Cricket Federation at least made an agreement with the stadium in Grand Prairie, Texas, to host like the U.S. the men's cricket team or whatever. So
uh-huh.
that kind of got converted, or like it's like the main facility now, or one of the main facilities, and then
Okay.
one in Florida, I think, and then one in New York. Oh,
I'm
was right.
surprised we have one here in Texas. That's really cool.
Yeah, I know, right?
And it was really close to where we live, or where I
Yeah,
used to live.
I mean,
That's
it's still pretty
cool.
close. Compared to
Well,
Florida or New York.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, Florida's still not even that bad, but
Yeah.
and then they put one way up north, so that's good to have some couple options there.
Yeah, but I don't know, I just thought that was interesting, and I'm like, what the? Everybody was talking about it. It's like, and then people that like don't know cricket, they're like, USA, USA. I know, I saw
Okay,
finishing it up.
cool. Well,
Okay,
yeah.
so Hey, everybody, welcome back for the Long Haul Podcast. Like always, it's me, Brandon, alongside.
Blaine, it's for the long haul podcast. We just did that before the
Oh, did
long
I? Oh,
haul.
got it. Okay, but
So
anyway,
thanks for being here.
yep. So after six, technically 8 months of unemployment, Blaine finally got a job. So I don't know. Why don't you talk about the whole past 8/6 months and
Okay, yeah.
explain why I'm saying 8/6?
So 8/6. So technically, my last opportunity that I was a part of ended because the business closed down because they lost funding in November, middle of November, and so that's when I was there with the business as it closed and helped clean up shop and make an exit and everything else like that. And so I was a part of that till basically they let go of every absolute person that didn't have to be a part of the business, which was literally like 95% of everybody. And so it only kept like one accounting person and maybe one HR person, and then like an like a business admin person, which were or executive assistant or something like that. And so like everybody gone. Um, and so, yeah, so 8 months/6 months, I started in middle of November is when I lost that opportunity. And I was like, well, I'm just going to relax until the start of January, enjoy the rest and have the holiday season and everything. I don't know what my next opportunity is going to be. And so I wanted to just go ahead and have that time, go see family and all this other stuff and enjoy that time there. And then when January started, I started looking for my next opportunity and on my career path. And so I don't know if you've ever heard about like what's the job market like right now and things like that. But starting it, they were like, it's not a great time apparently. And I'm like, okay, well, it's never been a great
Well,
time, sort of. But
see, I've been told like right now it's really difficult for like tech-based stuff or stuff like in that niche. It's
yeah,
really difficult and like because like they've also been doing layoffs and all that.
that's
But
been happening a lot.
I've heard like I've heard like I think only two things I've told that are like in high demand and people are looking for. It's like besides like really heavy manual labor is I think maybe like nursing and all that. I think
There's
if I
always
remember
people for
correctly.
labor. Yeah, apparently nursing has some kind of shortage going on.
Yeah.
I guess and that was obviously during COVID and stuff too. But so apparently, yeah, tech is there's just been throughout the whole year. There's been layoffs here and there in gaming divisions on gaming companies and stuff have been laying off studios and things like that. And there was one local here that happened maybe a month ago that was laid off as well. And so, yeah, tech wise, but apparently that's how tech goes. There was a guy I used to work with that was a coder, uh, or he worked at the office and he rented out of space. And I talked to him a lot, and he was like, "That's what tech is. It's like up and down, up and down." And it's just like it's going really great, and then it's like getting kind of scary, and then it's going really great, and then you get somebody gets laid off or whatever. So like, he's like, "That's part of the ebb and flow of tech. You come and go in waves." And you have to ride that wave, and hopefully you stay on it, not fall
Yeah.
off. As a surfing analogy, there. So now we are 6 months in here, and at the start of this week, which would be the 10th. Actually, I'm kind of fast forwarding here. Let's keep going back. So started in January. There's not a whole lot of extra details to be added. Started looking for jobs, and I'm not sure the exact number of jobs I've ultimately applied to. I know it's over 100,
Okay.
and
Well, I guess it's kind of. Hold on. You may answer this later on.
okay. Oh, okay. So over 100 jobs for sure, but not. I'm not. I haven't really like been counting them, and but applying to jobs every week, and so applied to a lot of different stuff, and going through and took a while to get my first interview, to be 100% honest, and then went through and took different methods. Like, okay,
About how long would you say?
I felt like it was a couple months. Maybe in March I got my first interview.
So about
Maybe
like 2 to 3 months.
yeah, about 2 to 3 months till I think I got my first interview, and I don't remember what my first company was, but I think maybe for sure 3 months then. Yeah, my first interview went to that. That didn't work out. They didn't call me back. So far, experience wise, A is applying to a high volume of jobs without getting any responses. Uh, and then that's point one. And then point two is, if you get some kind of response and going to an interview, and then if after the first interview, they don't call you back or say, "Hey, you didn't make it" or anything. So you can be like, "Hey, well, help me understand how to be better. Why, something that I'm missing or lacking. Do I have bad interview skills? Like, what is it?" And which personally, I have really good interview skills. Obviously, it's personal opinion, but I do feel that I have really good interview skills because I'm able to communicate and to come up with things quickly and on the fly and elaborate on things without having already pre-thought out my answer and navigating through that conversational sphere, if you will. So that's the thing I look forward to is in this kind of day and age that we're in. You typically have some form of a digital interview first, be it the phone or then video call or both, and before you get to an in person. And so I want to be badly in front of somebody to see they can see the fullness of me that I'm really well put together. In which comes into the dressing factor, just dressing well, really well, and like I take this very seriously. I didn't show up in some shit clothes in terms of not adequately dressing for this opportunity. And which even then, I mean, that's a first impression there, and that goes a long way. Then me just being in person, the energy that's provided to you being in person and stuff like that. Anyhow, so been to several different interviews, and there would just be like a first interview, and then I wouldn't hear anything back, and then they ghosted me. And so being ghosted by employers is very common from my experience, which I've heard,
Hmm.
but it's just my experience. But that seems to be for everyone around the gate. Is that being ghosted from employers, applying to them, getting no response back after you apply, even if you got it or not, or responding back 4 months later, like we didn't choose you, like really,
Oh God!
and
Wait, did that happen to you? Or are you just referring to one that happened to me?
I'm both.
Oh,
I've
that
been
actually
in that
happened to you
situation.
too?
Yeah,
Uh, I hate
and
that so
so
much.
it happened to me. I know it's happened to you. It's kind of why I said it like that too. And so
To this day.
other than that, yeah, a bunch of different stuff applied to. Been ghosted a lot, and so most of the time you're not getting much response. I heard somebody say 3 to 4% of the jobs you apply to out of 100, you'll get like an interview, and it's kind of
Really?
like, damn, like that seems kind of accurate, and it's kind of crazy.
But see,
Uh,
I've gotten like some videos from like people that are recruiters and all that themselves.
mm-hmm.
For people that don't know recruiters, they're kind of like, look, I don't know exactly how it works, but they're basically hired by companies to find candidates for them to
Long story
interview and all
short,
that.
recruiter either works for the company you want to work for, or B, a company that puts you into another company is
Yeah,
what the recruiters work for. And they get paid on finding people that can fill the job and stay at the job for like whatever, 6 months, and they get paid.
yeah.
And so that's how the recruiters function.
But
And so
I've got videos from the people that are saying they're like recruiters and all that, and they've said that some of the job listings you see on LinkedIn, Indeed, etc., uh,
ghost,
technically don't exist.
yeah, ghost
Like,
jobs. They call them ghost jobs or
yeah,
ghost postings. And they're literally just there and they leave them there and they don't intend on filling that position at all in this moment. And they just leave them there to get applicants and that's it.
I see.
And
I'm assuming it's just because they're like people like maybe the companies on the side and they're like, hey, we posted a job link, you guys. We're gonna try to get you guys some help to like relieve some of the stress on you guys, and then they
maybe.
don't do it, so that we're gonna just pocket the extra money instead of paying somebody else. That's why I think there's a reason why there's so many of those out there.
Maybe. I seen an article here just maybe this morning or yesterday or something. Apparently, those ghost jobs are for companies to get your applications and then sell your information. Apparently, I don't know how true that is,
I have
but
not heard of that, but that it would be a way to get your information and all that, and
yeah,
then like sell it. Which, if that's true, again, super scummy. I think that sounds more scummy than like how like a Walmart or CVS, Walgreens sells your information. I don't know.
hmm
That just seems more scummy than the how those stores do it.
yeah.
Because
So
like because like you're trying to get a job, and they're like, nah, we're just gonna make more money off of you needing a job.
yeah, and see that's something I can't like tell or prove from my
Yeah, yeah.
experience.
If it's true, that sounds super. Like that's like probably like one of the most scummiest things I've heard.
So carrying on from my experience thus far, pretty much that what I've just said can kind of summarize going the whole way through and then having in-person interviews and then being qualified for certain jobs. And also it's really interesting, I guess, to add another point before we get to where we're at now, where we talk about my interview process for this last company that I've accepted an opportunity for, surprise, which I think we said that earlier anyways. But one other thing is too, is that there's not every job you look at that you're like, I am qualified for this. I have all the boxes or most of the boxes, especially the essential requirements and some preferred requirements, and which is what they're typically looking for, which most people who here looking or applied or found work is they look at those items to tell, hey, I could do this, and based on what they do, what they said they want, and I could talk about it and say why. And those are talking points you use during your interview process. And so, but applying for some jobs, like I am really well qualified for this, and or I feel almost all the requirements, and then getting no call back and or anything is what really baffles me is those type of jobs that you can apply to, like I'm a really great candidate for this, and getting nothing back, or going to an interview and then they ghost you after your interview, and it's just like, dude, like now I didn't
It
even get
doesn't
to a
make any
second.
sense.
I didn't even get to a second interview. Like, is it? I mean, a it could be that competitive. I mean, I do live in Austin. There's a lot of people here. A sought after area. But B is just like, I mean, I can't believe it's not even like, was I even close? I didn't even get to a second interview.
Yeah.
Nobody hires anybody off of one interview, at least for the levels of positions that I'm looking for. And but even then, I mean, with any kind of job, pretty much all of my jobs is at the very beginning. It's more than one interview to get to that job. The first interview is to weed the people out, and then you get to where you go to the people that don't have as much time to give to interview the right people potentially for the job. And so, I mean, I believe in more than one interview, anyways, because that would make sense from a management perspective.
Yeah. Okay, so I gotta ask.
Hmm.
Okay, your last position was
Operation.
technically customer service slash hospitality adjacent. Is it is how you
Technically,
kind
it
of press
falls. Technically, if you want to put it in one of the brackets, because I select these when I'm applying to jobs, it
yeah
was hospitality.
hospitality?
All,
Okay,
all of these jobs I've ever had are all customer service based. If you have to interact with a customer in any way, shape, or form,
yeah.
it's customer service. But technically, because the type of industry that I was in, that's hospitality. Hospitality is events and things of that nature.
Okay, so did you apply to any more hospitality based jobs, or did you kind of like branch out and to do like several different other fields? And I gotta ask, how
Very.
many different fields did you kind of like branch into if you didn't do that? If you
These are
didn't
good
do
questions.
hospitality?
Good questions to kind of give me some
Because
more
like,
information.
because
Okay,
it's
yeah,
kind of like, because this could have been a perfect opportunity for you to switch fields and all that.
exactly. And that's
And
kind
you
of what
did,
I used it for.
and you did mention to me in private. I don't know if we quoted if you mentioned this on the podcast, but you did say you at one point did apply to a finance field.
Yes, and that was two of the interviews I went on were actually with a bank, and to move to the finance field, I was one of the hardest things that I have had to face. And this is going to kind of wrap into the question and help me, like if I miss something, to bring it back. So keep in mind on that question if you can. One the things that was the hardest for me is like I don't have a very specific like function. Like an accounting person, they do accounting. Or like I do finance. I work finance jobs. Like I have been in different roles. I just have a commonality of management, but I don't have like I'm a account manager at this place. And I always do account management, or I'm always in like some kind of business man. It's my is I have variety, which is awesome, but it's also like I really felt for the first time, I guess, what you call a jack of all trades, a doer of all, master of none.
Actually, that's not the full quote, by the way.
Ah, oh,
The
I
full
don't know
quote,
the I don't know the exact quote. I just using it.
I pulled it up because that's as you were talking about this, I was literally thinking this, and I pulled it up. The full
Okay.
quote is: "A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes is better than a master of one."
Hey, I like that. That's cool. Um,
Well, I guess that's one of the variations because I think like those are like a couple of variations, but in the end, like all the full quotes kind of always
equal.
uh ends up
It's a
being like it's
common,
better than like it's better to have a little bit of knowledge of everything than to like not have any knowledge.
yeah, and B, just I only know really much a lot about this, and that's the thing that's the strength about the position. It's just it's hard to like pinpoint what is this next thing I'm doing, especially if you don't want to continue exactly what you were, which is like event management, what I was doing, and I don't really want to do more of that. I did, but I wanted to not have a requirement to need to be at all the events because that takes time away from my personal relationships for most people working, a typical Monday through Friday opportunity, and events are ran on weekends and evenings more often. So other people who work those kind of opportunities can attend the events, which makes 100% sense. So that's one of the things that makes it hard for me while looking for those different paths and which different opportunities or career fields I was looking at. It's just like, where do I start? And that was the hardest thing at the beginning, is like figuring that out. Like, where do I start? Narrowing things down. Like, what industries am I looking in? Because you can just look, oh, I want to be in management. That helps hardly none, because it's like so broad still. Like, you want to be manager at a grocery store? You want to manage fast food restaurants? You want to manage actual, like, and there's so many, and there's a lot of options I had to weed through is that I'm not interested in, and it's not my field, and I don't have experience with like managing, restaurants and stuff like that, or
I
food.
do. I'm
And so,
technically don't, but technically do.
yeah, you can sling it like statistics to make it odds
Well,
look in your favor.
but technically, I've been offered two restaurant management positions. One by my old, but one of my the old owner of one of the restaurants I used to work at, because he ended up selling it. I went there eating one day after I left, about like probably 6 to a year later.
Hmm.
He said, "Hey, if you ever want to come back, I'll make you a manager and all that."
Yeah,
And then technically, my dad's offered me a management position too,
yeah,
at where he's at right now. Because he's like,
yeah,
you don't. He's like, you can do everything. It's like,
yeah,
I know you can do everything. If you ever want it, come over. And I'm like, I always keep that in mind as a backup.
yeah. That's not what you want to do.
Yeah, he knows. He knows I don't want to go back to the restaurants, but
Yeah,
like he knows, like like I can do it. So that's why y'all offered it.
yeah, exactly. And so that's, my biggest struggle was just pinpointing. It gets so much easier when you can look with a smaller whole at all the options and focus on an area. And just like how, like, and I like survival stuff, outdoor stuff. When you're looking on the horizon trying to see something, they like say, like, make like a box and like look through it. And then you can really focus on details in the area because you can only see what you can see.
Yeah,
So it prevents too much information coming at once, because then the brain naturally just blurs things that aren't right in front of your eyes. So that's one thing, and I try to give helpful stuff through this as well, is that if you can go through and you could find what it is specifically you're looking for, the more you can make it detailed, the easier it gets to find the opportunities that you're relevant with your experience to. And so that was a big thing for me that probably enhanced the amount of time it took for me to find something, is because I'm like, I could do this, I could do that. Like, I feel kind of broad about what I want to do. So like narrowing it down didn't, until I was narrowing it more down, it took more time to sift through all the shit that it wasn't relevant to me.
yeah.
And so that's one thing. So how all the different part of your question was, so all the different careers or fields that you've applied to. At one point, um, somehow I think I was talking to Victoria, something from her old boss or something another. It was just like, oh, this, that, and the other, be in the finance field or something. And I was like, well, I could try that. I have good experience for that. I'm not been in the banking industry, but to use that as a stepping stone to become
And I,
part of the finance field.
to be honest, I
And
can see you being in that field. In all honesty, I feel like everybody would agree. It's like, yeah, I can see that.
yeah, so I did make some attempts to do that and applied for a lot of relevant positions, although I would have to be a little lower on the rung to start those, because I don't have those base skills that those people come with as they move through that. And also just don't have like a finance major, even though it's a business. It's a little less desirable because it's not like a finance major.
See, I
And
technically tried to get into the finance field. I applied as a teller to a couple of banks.
yeah,
Never ended up hearing back from the banks.
yeah, and so that was I applied to some positions like that, but I was really focusing. Actually, I didn't really apply to teller positions. I was really focusing on getting those positions that were more management focused right after the teller position, kind of. And so, be like an assistant manager at branches and stuff like that. And so, when I had some positions that were both desirable um, in that type of management, where I would be over the tellers and be a resource to those individuals and support the staff and everything like that, and then be like the assistant to the branch manager, I believe. And so some of those I have really great experience for, besides not direct financial experience, but I have lots of years in customer service. Like, I have 10 years of customer service, several years of management, and which I think is about like 3 raw years of like direct management. And then with indirect management combined, it puts me like 5 years of management. And then I can really wiggle that to 6 years if you want to count me managing the front end of like the store where I worked Berkshire's way
Mhm.
back when, because you do that too as a front end manager essentially, even though it was called office manager or Yeah, office cashier. And so you see, you can wiggle these things.
Yeah.
And but even then, without that, I wasn't chosen for the next round of interviews. And I did do 2 rounds on the one opportunity. That was with Wells Fargo, and then I didn't hear back after that. And then I got 1 round. I went to the first round. It was just in person right out the get go, and I didn't get another interview after that with Chase. And for both of a very similar position with a different name.
Okay. Okay.
But so that's finance. Other things I looked at industry wise, I wasn't like too crazy in the industry. I did not really look at doing more of the event stuff. There was one I did apply to or two that I liked, didn't hear back anything. And then I was really just going through and applying to different stuff that was management related. Best I could. There was that one that was outdoorsy with the fishing, which was really cool, but it was really more like you'd be working with people booking trips and stuff. I thought that was really neat. Crazy enough about that one is I had the first interview, and here's I guess more stuff. Let me know if I'm getting a little too walking along here and not going down the path. But interviewed this one place. They pretty much are a middleman between the guides, which are fishing guides that take people on fishing trips,
Mhm.
and then the customer, which wants to book those trips. And they vet them essentially and give them a review process to where people can see them as like, oh, this is a great guide to use, and here's all the reviews and stuff. And it kind of gives the guide a platform to get more exposure, to gain more business. So there's a summary. I went to the first interview, went really well. Then I did the second interview at that place. I did really well there as well. And then for after about a week, then I heard back and said, "Hey, sorry." Long story short, the way the email was worded, it sounded just like they actually ended up not filling the position at all. And the person, I believe, the way it was worded, they got the person that they said was leaving because they needed 2 spots for that position. They filled one already before I talked to them. The second spot was being filled because the lady was leaving. By the way it was worded, and a couple people have asked, it sounds like that they agree with me that it seems like they were able to get her to stay and no longer needed to fill the position.
Yeah, I remember you telling me this before.
Yeah, so this goes down the line like maybe 2 months later or something like that, or 3 months. I don't know. This was maybe in March or
About
something.
last month.
Yeah, so
Is
a
when
couple,
it was like
couple months.
if I know what you're gonna say next, the next part is last month.
Okay. Little water break there. And so the second part is actually I seen the job was posted again, so I was like, damn, I'm gonna apply for this again. I mean, I did really good last time. I feel like the only reason I didn't get it is because it set up to fill it. And I noticed that as soon as they posted it too, which was just luck, like 3 days after they posted it, went through applied. I was like, hey, this, that, and the other, and I sent an email to the guy because I got his email last time. So kind of a double front there to get me exposure and or get notice. And so they're like, "Oh yeah, absolutely, we'd love to. Let's talk again. Let's see." And blah 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 blah. And so we talked again with the guy, the last guy I interviewed with. And he said, "All right, great." Well, he's like, "Well, you did an awesome job again on this interview. I asked you some different questions, so we stayed relevant there and challenged you in a new way. And you did an amazing job. All these questions, given it wasn't super hard because my experience were really easy questions for me to answer. And after I answered him, he'd go through and review the answers with me, how he would have answered it, and like I aced every one of them, killed it. And he said, so the next step is now to interview with the last 2 people here, and then and it's a smaller company, so it's like CEO and stuff, the co-CEOs, and then like never heard anything back. And then I emailed, I'm pretty sure I emailed back, and then I was like, hey, hadn't heard anything, whatever. And if I didn't, well then I moved on because I already felt like I was like, why did they waste my time a second time?
Mhm.
And then did not like contact me again, even though like I've done really good. I have all the experience that they're looking for this position and extra. Not really crazy like overqualified or anything. Like it's just not a management position, but like with given my experience and getting to make your own decisions in that position, I qualify really well for it. I would get being super overqualified and them not calling you for that, but that I don't think that was relevant. So, but yeah, then ultimately they didn't get back to me, and I was like, Victoria was like, screw those people. And I was like, honestly, unfortunately, kind of yeah, because like, why are we doing this a second time if you weren't seriously considering me if I did this a second time?
Yeah.
So, anyhow, without trying to ramble too much, that was a thing. But there's definitely a lot of different spots that I applied to. Industry wise, going into industries, it doesn't shine as much in my head about what they were, besides a couple that I mentioned there. Besides just trying to go through and look for management related opportunities and filtering them out at that point. And then there was different times where I went through and I was trying to find some government jobs, work for local government here, and some of those were really hard to go through and apply to because of their qualifications and things that you want. You have to show that this is like really relevant to this position and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So it's difficult to get a government job, is what I've read as well, and also from what I've gathered from applying to some. But once you get one, then you're like in.
Yeah.
Apparently, is how that is. And so went to a big government job fair. So yeah, I went to a big job fair with a lot of stuff, and a lot of government jobs there, but not all government. That was really cool. The one thing I'll say about going to a job fair, try not to ramble, trying to keep things relevant, not get too rambly here, while also providing good information. So one thing I will add about going to a job fair, I've been to job fairs before because you go to college and you have those to get jobs and
It's a
internships.
good way to network.
It's a great way to network. But here's the thing: when I went to job fairs in the past, this is pre-COVID. Might have something to do with it. I don't know. Job fairs in the past, I went to the job fair and you actually talked to people that were like legit interested in like getting your resume and then like making forward progress with you and like, hey, I've got it. Let's keep like they were kind of like driven towards me, for example, if I was able to talk there and kind of show, hey, here's some of my skills and things and my desires. And so they wanted like almost like pursue you in a way because it's also the recruiter. They make commissions. They're a sales role. Versus going to this job opportunity or the what do we call it here? I literally forgot what I was calling it.
Job fair?
Job
Oh,
fair. Yeah, job fair. Going to this job fair, which I had over 100 employers there. Going to this job fair, right, and talking to all these people. People really don't want your resume, and although you talk to these people, the benefit of going to the job fair was getting in front of people in the past and getting your face, and then making that little bit of a relationship and getting to use it to your advantage for the next step to get in the door to start interviewing with that company or that person because that was the recruiter. And so going to this, my experience was you're going there strictly to learn about the companies and get papers like paperwork or something that has some of the jobs they have or what are they offering. They really don't want anything from you while you're there, and you don't really get to make a connection with hardly anybody. You get a few people that says, hey, apply a resume or whatever, or like send me an email, but that was very rare. And so essentially it was just going there to learn more about the companies and not gain any additional benefit of even going in the first place.
Well, okay. Here's the thing I could think of why it was different because the other one was like, wasn't it hosted by the college?
Yeah, there's some college ones, so everyone's like new grads and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Because like, and was this hosted by like, was this more like a convention style, or was this hosted by a university or something like that?
It's more like convention style. It was hosted at like it's like an Austin career fair.
Because that could kind of make sense of why it was so different too, in my opinion. Because one, they know these kids are already getting out of college, they're desperate for like a job and all that.
Yeah.
Or they're battle graduates, so like they're like, oh, these are ripe for the picking. The other one could have been like, this is people that are thinking of maybe switching jobs or something like that, or maybe still looking for a job. I don't know. It could be the COVID thing. It could be like maybe like the who hosted it and why it's so different.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that was my experience. It was really disappointing that going to something like that, it really didn't give you any competitive edge, is really what I was looking for.
Yeah.
To go get in front of an employer that I was like, I could work for these individuals and do this job because I have the experience or whatnot or transferable skills. And then gaining practically zero competitive edge to any of those companies that were there. And so to me, unfortunately, it was almost a complete
waste of time.
I don't, maybe not complete waste of time. It was a waste of time, I think.
You could have been doing something more productive or more beneficial than
I could have spent 3 hours, just sifting through more jobs instead of going there in person and then just getting jobs on a piece of paper and not getting any competitive edge. Because that's what I wanted when I went. I wanted a competitive edge. And how was I going to get it while I was there? And that was the thing that I ultimately did not receive basically at all.
But did you end up getting the job through that though, or no?
No, not even close. So yeah, didn't get the job through that. Keep moving. Yeah, is that what you're doing? Keep me moving.
Well, I was gonna ask something else, unless you were done. Unless you had something else to say.
I'm done with that point. I'm just gonna keep moving down the line. What do you got?
Okay, so now was there any like haggling is the best way I can say it at the moment. That's the only one I can come to my mind with your salary at this new job.
Yeah, let's bring that in. I'll start with the process now, and we'll get to that point where I get an offer letter, and let's bring that back.
Okay.
So essentially now I'm going to fast forward to where we're at now. So this opportunity I've applied for and then interviewed for, and ultimately y'all know the end path of that. And so I applied to this job a few days over a month ago. And this one, I found this one. I was like, this isn't the, and I'll be vague because I like to, until I move past an opportunity, I like to not have too many details that identify me
Yeah, yeah,
and
obviously.
keep things separate. So a job in a real estate field, and which is I'm like, okay, that's really cool. I like this, and I went through and read everything. I was like, this sounds like an excellent next job for me, with my experience that I have, in the real estate field and management and customer service and all that stuff. This is like an amazing next step for my career path, and getting deeper into management, accepting more responsibility, managing more things and tasks and teams and things of that nature. So I was like, this sounds awesome. So I went through and applied for this job. Applied for this job a little over a month ago. I don't remember at the very beginning how long it took to get a response. I feel like I got one in like with maybe a week at most. So that was really great. Got one, had a phone interview with the recruiter. Boom, that's your first gatekeeper. Get through your recruiter. That's happens a lot most of the time. That's kind of what they're for, is to weed the stuff out so the managers can actually interview the good people. And so get through the interview with the recruiter. Great, got that done. Next, I interview with my boss about a week after that. So I interview was supposed to be my boss, and so this is a web interview. The first one was a phone. Have a web interview with her. Went really well. I did good on the first interview. Did really good on the second interview. So I'm like, hell yeah! And if you're doing the same kind of job interview again, you get better and better the more you learn about the position and interview for it. You're practicing while doing it. And so did that interview. Went really well. She's like, okay, great. I'm like, when can I get next steps? She said, we'll get next. We'll have next steps, and maybe we'll be able to get back with you for within about a week or so or something like that. I believe she said. I don't remember exactly. It's been a couple weeks and a few interviews. Excuse me. So then I get the third interview. So the third interview is another web interview because these individuals don't live here; they live further up north. And so then the third interview I have, he is my boss's boss, because this position is unique to where they're restructuring how this structure works, and for what I'll be doing, which is managing the Austin area market for this real estate firm. And so, and we'll talk more details about what the position is exactly when I guess I get to the end here, kind of gives
Mhm.
some background. And so he is the head of all of the people that are my boss in the different markets. And so I don't know how big our market is, if it's just like the whole state or something or what, but he is the boss's boss. So I interview with him. Goes really well, connect really well with him, and I'm doing my best interview yet at this point for this position. And so it goes really well. We connect really well. I'm like, awesome. When can I expect to hear back next? He's like, okay. And he said, I just want to be clear about, and I think probably these other individuals are going to want to meet with you, because the way this is a position I have, I'll be working for a large subsidiary which owns a lot of different real estate companies and related adjacent businesses like title companies and such. And then so I'll be working for that company, but I'll be servicing one of their brands. So it's kind of like I've interviewed and made it through the one side. He didn't necessarily exactly say that, but kind of said that the way I felt that I was the person, but I was going to probably have to meet these other individuals. And so he said, I would just say, hey, there might be another interview or two. Oh, ideally, they're getting both together when they meet you here, and you don't have to do more than that. Two of them, ideally, just one more. But I would just say, hey, I just want you to know that. And I was like, that's great, thank you. And so ultimately, it went for after a week. I thought I would hear back in a week. I didn't hear back. It went 2 weeks, and I didn't hear back. I was like, damn, dude, I went through all of this, and they ghosted me. And I sent things that I did do though. I always sent like thank you emails when I could. I did not have contact information for my last two interviews I just mentioned. Weirdly enough, they have a person that sets this stuff up, and you don't get contact info, which is great to not get harassed if you're the person interviewing, but it sucks because I can't say thanks or anything.
Mm.
And so went through those interviews. Oh crap! I almost lost my train of thought there. And so I sent follow-up emails. I sent one after 1 week because our pacing so far was about once a week. I would have something kind of information. So it was been a week. I said, hey, just want to follow up, yada yada. Good stuff saying on the email, and then didn't email me back the first recruiter because that's who they have contact information for. Which she also may not know at this point. I'm so far down the interview line. So then I sent an email out the second week. I was like, hey, I just want to follow up. If you can give me any kind of update, that would be amazing. I am currently interviewing for other opportunities. So this one is really high on my priority list of opportunities I would enjoy and excel at, or whatever I said. But I just want, any kind of update you can give me would be great. Trying to make some sense of urgency because, she may be at the bottom of the rung of this interview process, but she makes money if I get hired and I do good and stay. So
Yeah.
trying to create a sense of urgency, and that works with some people, especially recruiters and stuff like that. If you have something to bring to the table, obviously, which if you didn't, you wouldn't be interviewing anyways. But not being too rushy, but also saying professionally, like, hey, I really love this opportunity, but however, I am still interviewing for other opportunities. So any updates are greatly appreciated if you haven't heard back, and that could potentially create a sense of urgency if they desire you as a candidate, and you just hadn't got any information back. That ultimately didn't get me any information either, but about 2.5 weeks, I did get something back. At that point, I've already given up. It's been 2 weeks. I've been hearing something back for every week this whole point, and which is almost a month. It's been 2 weeks now. I'm like, damn, dude, I did 3 interviews and got ghosted. Very let down. Very disappointing. So I was like, wow, we're back to square one, interviewing for other stuff and applying to other stuff, and which I've been applying to stuff during that whole process. 2.5 weeks come in, I get a call, and for my next person to interview me and be in person finally at one of the offices. And so say, hey, sorry, I don't know if you've heard back and they said I was going to call you or not, but this is where Houston comes in. She was like, sorry for the delay. We've had this really bad weather in Houston. We've been without power. I've been without power, and so that's added a lot of delay to this process because I'm the next person you're going to talk to, and she's from Houston, and she drove all the way over here to Austin to have this interview. And so I was like, oh, absolutely, I'm so happy to hear from you. I had no idea you were going to call them. I'm super happy to hear from you. And so like this would be an example of at 2 weeks, instead of sending an email, it's like, dude, why haven't y'all contacted me back or something, and being like frustrated and sending it's not professional. Staying professional, because there's not going to be any benefit not being professional. And then look, like I could have been an asshole. Like you really ghosted me after 2 weeks after all this. It's been been a month now through this whole process or something, and probably wouldn't have called me back. Which I mean, I would probably done the same thing. But so got back, went to that interview, and then I met another guy there. So I think that was the 2 people I was supposed to meet. He came from New Jersey, and he was down in town, and so interviewed with both of those individuals there. So that was my 4th interview, meeting 5 people in total. And then after that, they said it looks like we're fixing to wrap it up and everything. And so I was like, that's great news. Let me know. And then after maybe a week, I think I finally heard back. And the recruiter, actually, no, it was the next day. I think they called me first. And I was like, oh, hey, how's it going? And I was like, damn, this is it right here. She was like, hey, I need you to reapply to the job. And I was like, what? And so they went through a change in HR process. So you pay for that service. So they went through a change, and they told me that was part of what they were going through in the beginning when I was interviewing for the job, which I was like, this is great. Nobody can apply for the freaking job. So no more added competition. And it happened for a course of a week or something that was going on. But so they called me. Yeah, hey, can you reapply for the job? And I was like, what the fuck?
Man,
I was like, damn.
that's one of the craziest things I've heard.
4 interviews with 5 people total, and it's been a month, and now I have to apply the job again. And I was like, okay. I mean, in lieu of I'm expecting ideally to get this job, I'm more than happy to do it. But it's just like, damn, man, there's a lot of stuff we've been doing this whole time. So apply the job again, and then the next week comes, which is this week, right now. And so call me actually Monday at like 9:30 or something, which was dope. I'm glad they called me really early to start the week off great. Gave me a verbal offer of employment, and then said, we're going to be sending you an offer letter here today or tomorrow. We're still, getting used to the new HR process or something. And so I said, that's fantastic. So happy to hear from you. And so got my offer letter yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And so got my offer letter yesterday and signed the offer letter. So now your question, which I'm surprised I remembered at this point, which is negotiations about salary. This is why I think I'm good at interviewing. Typically, I can like wrap and go through and come back and deliver all the information. And so the further elaborate on your question about salary. And so was there any negotiations? I plan on negotiating, and but it was based on their offer. I had a range of the salary that I asked for. And here's a golden tidbit of information here. If normally you can do good research on Glassdoor and find the salary bracket for your position normally, and filter by years of experience and things of that nature. Sometimes it's hard, or there's not much information, so you may not be confident with that salary bracket. For this is a creation of a new position that I'm joining. So I really couldn't find the information for it. and I was having a hard time. Like, is this just like this position essentially?
Yeah, find like something that's adjacent to it.
Exactly. And so, but during my first interview, she asked me salary expectations, and I definitely did not know adequately at that time, and how you can run this to get the information you want. And this is in some sales tactics and things like that, where you never give a number first. You want people to give
Mhm.
you stuff. And so I said, well, I'm good. I'm still going through and, not elaborating. I'm still going through and determining what my salary expectations will be, learning more about this position. But when our interview concludes here, I'll definitely be able to do a little bit more research and have a good number for the next time we have a conversation. However, I am curious. Do you have a salary bracket for the position y'all are providing? And so asking what they are providing for the position, the salary range, and you typically can get it. And I did get it. And so I knew what they were offering. Because I mean it's hard set, but it's what they have approved to offer for the position. And so I got that information. And so through the process, I'm like, I like to think that they're going to see that I am a very well qualified candidate for this, and they're going to offer me really
And you're
close.
dealing through some BS too.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And so I was like to think after all this that we went through, and I'm a really qualified candidate, that they are going to not provide me with a low offer because I will be negotiating. But ideally, they're going to provide me with a high offer. And so they did give me a high offer, not the cap of the bracket, but very close and too close to negotiate, in my opinion, without nickeling and diming.
Mhm.
I do want to, obviously get the most money for my time, but there's also the same thing too. It's just like how difficult are you going to be like when you're this close and asking for more money?
Yeah.
And that's a thing that I've looked and researched into. It's just like, yeah, there's, you always want to ask for more money, and some people are like, no, I always ask for it, and I feel that as an opportunity to always ask for it.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like you gotta make the balance between asking for more, but not to what they're like. All right, next person.
Yeah, exactly. And I've even read some things on recruiters. It's like when we offer somebody like X amount of money and they want literally like a couple K more to make it right where it was or something like that, or not even like whenever it's that close to the end of the bracket, it's just like this person is probably going to be difficult to work with because
Mhm.
like it's so close and then it's not good enough for them or stuff like that. But it's all everything's negotiable. So, but from my perspective, I was so close to the cap of the bracket that I was like, I think given my position, it's been so long. I've been through all these interviews. I have got selected for the position. I don't want to be the nickel and dimer when I'm this close. And also with the me amount they got me, I was like, this is still a great amount, anyways. And so, and I'm ready to get going. And so, could I have negotiated? Probably got a little bit more. I probably could have,
But you're
but
at the point to where you were happy with it.
yeah, I was not disappointed in it at all. They could offer me a lower bit of the range, and I would have been like, this is not enough.
Hmm.
And I am disappointed that you thought I was only worth this. And so, but they did not do that, which is great. And so, happy that they made that choice to not try to lowball in that way. So, but yeah, I did not negotiate salary at all. I have done that in the past, and I was so close. I didn't want to nickel and dime, and
Hmm.
so there's kind of that background for that. So I don't know. Should I say what my kind of the? I've kind of said a little bit about
I mean, you said it's in the real estate area and it's management, so
I keep things really broad.
I think that's good enough.
You think that's
If-
good enough?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Especially if you like, it's all up to you in the end.
Yeah.
If you
I mean,
know
we're
that,
already at 48 minutes. I mean, I'll be managing the offices of a certain company
yeah.
that practices real estate here in the Austin area, and the entire Austin area is going to be my market. And so I'll be managing those and taking care of those individuals that are in those offices.
I gotta ask one question. Was that any interview where you were just like, where they were like, "Nope, I'm walking out."
Me or
Yeah,
them? Oh,
you.
me.
Like
No,
they were asking for way too much for way too little, or like it was not at all what you originally applied for. You're like, "Nah, I'm
I
out."
agree.
Or like, or they were
It
like,
did not happen to
if-
me.
or they were giving you like a bad vibe, like like it would be
Oh,
like a
yes.
crappy place to walk.
Yeah, that did not happen to me, and I think part of why that hadn't happened to me is because I learned how to filter those out pretty
Yeah.
well before. the last time when I was really digging into looking at opportunities, remember I went to that one interview where they were like, "Hey, this is blah blah blah," and they worded it so freaking well. But really, it was snake oil. To where after I went and interviewed it, I learned I was going to be like selling products in a Walmart. And I was like, I'm not interested in having a degree in selling products in a Walmart.
Uh-huh.
Somebody else can do this job great. I did not go through all this effort to do that.
Yeah.
And so that would be an example. There was one opportunity I had an interview for. I was going to potentially interview for, and I said, no, this doesn't align with my career goals.
Mhm.
And that was one where another one that's worded really well and seems like a good opportunity. And then I went through and looked at the position and looked at reviews on Glassdoor, and then I figured out this one working for this big company like Granger or something like that. You would go actually work, like you'd go to like Home Depots and you would promote their products in a Home Depot. And then literally a couple people in the reviews were like, you're going to become really good friends with everyone who works at Home Depot, and that's all people you're going to know. But you're basically working in Home Depot. You might as well work for Home Depot at this point.
Mhm.
And so I was just like, this is not aligning with my career goals at all.
Yeah.
And so learning to recognize those and dig for those and pick out that information is something I learned. Victoria almost had one of those, and I told her about it. I was like, this is all the red flags I had in one of mine. And she was going to go to the interview, and she talked to her dad about it. And then she ultimately decided she was like, actually, I'm not going to go. And she called and canceled it. And this was a little while back.
Last thing I can think of. Did you at any part lie in your resume or like added fake stuff that you didn't have or that didn't happen? Like create a fake job
Oh,
that
boy.
you used to work at that you don't
Okay.
work at anymore and all that. 'Cause
Uh-huh.
to be honest, if and when I enter the job market again, because I've thought about like, what if I ever have to go back into the job market again, or what if when I go back to the job market and all that again, I've thought of literally just like lying on my resume, adding fake jobs and all that,
Oh,
and
boy.
like fake like positions and all that to get myself a leg up.
Apparently, they don't. Most of the time, they don't really check that stuff.
Yeah,
Apparently, you can
I've
definitely
heard
do
a lot
that.
about that. So I'm like, why not do it? It's like I have the skills of several other positions, but I've never been given the official titles because they just wanted to. They knew I was doing that stuff, and I didn't have the position. So they're like, yeah, let's just leave it like that, basically.
Yeah. I did not. I have a great skill set with my different opportunities and the virtue of all of my previous jobs looking really good on a resume,
Yeah.
which obviously didn't help a whole lot because it takes forever to still find something. But I look really good on paper. So I did not change any of that. What I do is, regardless of what the job title is, the highest functions that I do is what goes there. So even though your title may not match the amount of stuff that you actually did, you go through and you put the best thing that you can do, the highest form of your job that you did. And even if it's not your job description, you were asked to do it with your manager, you get to say, hey, this is what I did.
Yeah.
And using all of those is what you do. And but I do have the virtue of also having attractive titles that match, my
Yeah.
skill sets as well. But I did not lie about anything. I think the potential of finding the job you really wanted and lying and that coming back to get you later sounds terrible.
Yeah,
And
I know. Yeah, that's
I
one
don't
thing I've
want to be,
thought of.
especially as like you get the job that you really wanted, and somehow they find out that like you've lied about a ton of stuff. I have a friend that that did lie on his resume about stuff, and then basically after he got in there, he's like, "Hey, listen, I don't entirely know how to do this. I'm really good at taking the test to do this, but I'm really good at learning. If you just provide me what I need, I will easily work hard and do this job," which he has done, and he's shown that. But he told me that the other day, and I was like, "Damn, okay." He was like, "You should lie on your resume," and I was like, "What the hell?"
I feel like I know. Okay, I have two ideas of who this is.
Well, we leave that out, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I think some people go stretch the truth, but that's what statistics is as well. You could take the numbers and manipulate them to provide the information that you want to provide, and that's almost like a resume. You use it like statistics, where you take the information you have and you craft it to say, "Hey, I can do this job." And even if it's slightly not the same, you adjust it to be very like to the job you're applying for. And that's what is personalizing your resume per job, which I don't do. I don't do for a lot of them. I kind of did it for the field because it takes forever to go through and really perfectly craft your resume for a job per each job. And considering the amount of volume of jobs I have to apply to, I was like, I'm only really going to take time for jobs that I'm like, I'm really closely qualified for this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Why don't you close this out, Blaine?
All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us here for the Long Haul Podcast. Really happy you've been here. This is a little bit of a longer one, but hopefully it was good information. Be a good one for a drive home. So, in conclusion, not even really in conclusion, just kind of backing away out of here. And so you guys can go check us out on Instagram at For Long Haul Podcast on Instagram. We also got an email at ftlhpodcast@gmail.com, just like For the Long Haul, ftlhpodcast@gmail.com for email us for whatever or sponsor information. So be it. Whatever you need, give us a shout. Now, we also have a YouTube. We record this so we can see each other face to face as best we can, but also, well, why not post on YouTube? So if you guys want to check us out, put us on the TV while you vacuum or listen to us the whole way through. Anyway, we're happy to have you for the Long Haul Podcast on YouTube. Now, what else we got here? I mean, you can check us out wherever you can see us on all podcast apps at For Long Haul. If those ones have the ability for you to like or anything like that, that would be greatly appreciated. That helps us just get more exposure. And if you want to help us out in any way.
All right, you guys, until the next one, you guys have a good one.
All right, we'll see you later.